So this past weekend, we got our first look at the Batman, a trailer, Matt Reeves spilling some awesome information, and an idea of what the villains are going to be like in this new movie. We got our first peek at Catwoman, the Penguin, and most spectacularly, the Riddler. And that's what we're talking about in today's video, is the possibility of the Riddler being the next great Batman villain. And of course, before you get started, if you've watched the Batman trailer countless times and you like these kinds of videos, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. And obviously, when I say the Riddler could be the greatest Batman villain, it's going to be hard to live up to someone like Heath Ledger as Joker or even Jack Nicholson as Joker. But here's why I believe he could at least come close. Let's get into it. Now, I'm sure some watched the trailer and said, wait a second, the Riddler? The Riddler's in this trailer? Yes, it's a very different look and feel for a character that we know going all the way back to the 1960s, seeing him on television for the first time. He has come a long way, but in terms of the costume, some will say he's actually regressed. It just kind of looks thrown together, but I think that's the beauty of what this Riddler is going to be. This outfit in particular is menacing in its own way, and it was confirmed that this will be somewhat of an origin story for these villains. The Penguin before he was a crime boss, Catwoman before she goes full on Catwoman, and the Riddler prior to most likely finding an outfit that we're more used to. But it looks like this could be the most menacing version that we've ever seen. So today I'm going to give you guys 3 reasons why this could be the next great Batman villain and why it will be the best version of the Riddler we've ever seen. And let's start with the actor Paul Dano, who is just phenomenal. Performances in movies like Looper, Prisoners, 12 Years a Slave, Little Miss Sunshine, There Will Be Blood. And the beautiful thing about this actor is the fact that his range is just so dramatic from film to film. In There Will Be Blood, he not only plays one character, but 2 distinctly different characters, where one is an over-the-top pastor delivering some of the most dramatic lines of the late 2000s. In a film like Prisoners, he plays a quiet, subdued character who takes a beating from Hugh Jackman, but the emotion that he displays is incredible. And then we go to a film like Swiss Army Man, where he essentially carries the entire film, and also carries Daniel Radcliffe on his back. Dano may not be the biggest name in Hollywood, but he is easily one of the best character actors we see today, and every single time he pops up, you're most likely going to get, if not an Oscar nomination-worthy performance, but a top-notch performance nonetheless. Reason number 2, it doesn't feel like any version of the Riddler we've seen so far. And what is everyone used to on the big screen? Well, right now, pretty much the only comparison is Jim Carrey's version of the Riddler, which is over-the-top, flashy, and a bit comedic. And I won't lie, I personally have a bit of nostalgia for this Riddler, as I'm a huge fan of Jim Carrey and what he did in the 90s, but this over-the-top version of the Riddler would not work in a film like this. He's wacky, he's zany, he's getting on Tommy Lee Jones' everlasting nerve, but he worked. Even though that film, may not be the gold standard of Batman movies, he worked for that tone. This version of the Riddler has to be darker, it has to be grittier, it may even have to be what we would perceive to be as an R-rated take on the character. Funny enough, a movie theater chain in Sweden just posted a synopsis on the Batman, and whether this is official or not, it does give us a clue as to how dark this version of the Riddler would be, saying a serial killer is trying to lure Gotham City's crime fighter in a game to viciously fight injustices wherever they rise. Serial killer, most likely pointing to the Riddler, just because of what we see in the first few shots of that trailer, essentially taping a man's face, which most likely would make him stop breathing. I mean, he may have poked some holes in there, but you just hear the breathing. That doesn't sound like it. We also see multiple flashes in the trailer of people in very bad situations. One instance where it does look like this man blows up, so rest in peace. Spoiler for the movie, I guess. But if that is indeed the Riddler, and we don't know, not confirmation yet, but if that is the Riddler causing these types of things to happen, it is absolutely a different version than what we've seen before. A darker version, a fresh take on a character that we know going all the way back to the 60s, where both versions we've seen, while Frank Gorshin's version wasn't Jim Carrey over the top, they have been a bit more wacky and zany, more along the lines of what we're used to with the Joker. But just like Heath Ledger's Joker, almost changing the way, even more so, of how we perceive that character, it looks like Paul Dano could do something similar. And the best part about this is the fact that we don't see his face. All we hear is the cryptic voice and the sinister nature of how he's taunting and manipulating the mind of the Batman. And we hear that line at the end, "You're a part of this now." And essentially, the Riddler is bringing the Batman into his world, even though we normally see that as the other way around. The villains are in the world of the Batman, but Riddler seems to be causing a lot of chaos all throughout Gotham City and using his riddles to feed the Batman clues. And that leads me into my third and final point, and this will be our opportunity to see the Batman in a way that we've never seen him on the big screen. Now, we've had hints. There have been plenty of occasions in Christian Bale and Michael Keaton's Batman where he took on the role of being a detective, but we have never seen it as evident as we will see it in this film. And Matt Reeves has said this multiple times. He wants this to be a detective-esque film. He wants Batman to fill that role that he's filled in the comics multiple times, but we've never seen it play out in a movie like we will see it in The Batman. And who better to play this main villain than the Riddler? Now, the Penguin, I'm sure, will give Batman plenty of opportunities to be a problem solver. How did they get Colin Farrell inside of all of that makeup and prosthetics? It's a mystery. But the Riddler is the perfect villain for that. He's providing Batman these riddles, these games, but he's also trying to change society in the process, which, again, you can make the comparison to Heath Ledger's Joker. I think they're going to be two distinctly different villains, but in terms of what they're going to do to the Batman and the impact that they're going to have on the movie, don't be shocked if we walk away from this film not just raving about Pattinson as Batman and maybe Andy Serkis as Alfred because he's awesome, but we're all saying, hey, Paul Dano is the Riddler with the voice and the voiceover that we hear in the trailer and this distinctly different kind of thrown together, I went to Goodwill and found all of this random stuff. Look, that is terrifying. Imagine waking up and seeing this, just like that over top, just get off me, dude. And all of those reasons combined, I truly believe Paul Dano as the Riddler can be the next great Batman villain. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. What do you think? How do you feel about the Riddler thus far? And I know there are some out there that say, well, maybe Dano isn't even playing the Riddler because this does have a Hush feel to it. If you're a fan of the Batman comics, you probably know who Hush is. And yes, it does. And in a recent animated film, we saw a very distinct connection between the Riddler and Hush. So maybe that is incorporated in this movie. I just believe that Matt Reeves took elements of Hush, added that into this version of the Riddler, and a bit of a combination of the characters, but I like that because that means, again, we're getting a darker Riddler, and that's scary. If you guys enjoy these types of videos, very different from what I'm normally doing, be sure to support that, smash that thumbs up button. That tells me you want more, and maybe we'll talk about the Penguin next, if you guys would like to see it. Appreciate you for watching. Start some conversations down below. How many times have you watched the trailer? I'm approaching 50. We'll see how far we go. You guys are the best. I'll see you soon.